Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to everyone, wherever the sun is at for you. Today, yet again, we are gathering for another insightful session on empowering careers for sustainable growth, fostering soft skills and resilience in the changing job landscape. Uh, Again, it's very important as a youth to understand the job market, to understand the challenges, and sometimes we do disregard these challenges, or these challenges are not taken into consideration. So we'll talk about these things in depth today. And for that, we have Divya Kataria here with us, and we have Vrinda Gupta here with us to start this conversation. To tell you very briefly about Divya, Divya is a resume and interview coach with a lot of experience in the area, and she has been guiding youths for a very long time. And talking about Vrinda, she is an enthusiastic soft skills coach and a corporate trainer with over 2 years of experience in the training and development area. So I will hand the floor over to Divya and Vrinda to take this conversation forward and empower our youth in as much as capacity as possible. Over to you both.
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. We both are very happy to be a part of this summit. And I just wanted to quickly just introduce myself. So yes, my name is Vrinda Gupta. I'm a soft skill and corporate trainer. Now, talking about soft skills, the main attraction of this topic is why are soft skills important, why is communication important, and Divya is going to be briefly explaining about the recession times and how you can really navigate through these recession times, because she is an interview coach and she will give us a lot of strategies and tips and tricks on how we can excel in our interviews. Now, talking about soft skills, I know that for a very long period of time, technical skills were given the major focus and soft skills were not given too much of focus. Also, if you see the curriculums and the broad topics that have been taught in Indian schools, they never were focused on soft skills at all. They were primarily only focused to get you those high grades so that you get into a good college. Nobody really figured out why are soft skills important, but because the times are changing, the requests by the hiring manager, the requests by the organizations, also changing time, adaptability and flexibility is extremely important, and it's considered to be one of the most demanded skills today in this year 2023, which is why now soft skills has come into the limelight, and a lot of people want to improve their communication skills. Now, talking about soft skills, people have a misconception that soft skills is only about communication. I'm here to break the ice. Soft skill is not just about communication. Soft skill is a huge umbrella, and communication is just a part of it. It's one of the integral parts, I agree. But along with that, you also have time management, prioritization of your tasks, adaptability, flexibility, resilience, public speaking. A lot of things are associated with soft skills. Now, the training and development industry has grown immensely over the past few years, because even managers, senior level managers, even they are recognizing that these are the skills that are essential in every job role. Basically, these are transferable skills essential in every job role, which is why they are hiring trainers and coaches to train their employees. But my question is, if this is been taught right from the start when you are studying in your school or university, you wouldn't face that problem when you join a corporate company. Today, basic corporate etiquettes, email communication, business communication, the art of saying no, setting boundaries, managing your work life balance, all these things are a big question mark today, because the soft skills has not been integrated in your curriculum or whenever you were studying, which is why I'm here to speak about its importance. Also, considering a very recent statistic by LinkedIn says that 60 to 70% is dependent on your soft skill, and only the balance is your technical skills. I'm sure Divya will agree, because when she's going to speak, she's also going to tell you that soft skills are extremely important, because let's understand one thing, that technical skills can be taught. If you are weak in a programming language, or in particularly using a software or a tool, you can be trained when you are in your probation period. But no manager or your colleagues, they are not going to come sit next to you and teach you how to write an email. or how to reply to people, or how to talk to people, how to make your presentations, how to give presentations. These are things that are expected, that you know it by default. So which is why soft skills are very very important, and especially in interview. Divya is also an interview coach, so she'll give you a detailed analysis. But as far as what I know, even in interviews, the way you deliver your answers are much more important. There is a trick to answering these kind of questions, and Divya will deep dive into certain strategies that you can use while you are especially, giving your interviews. But yes, I wanted to talk about the importance of soft skills. Now, apart from that, let me tell you about the most demanded skills today, which is communication, time management, resilience, problem solving, and adaptability. These are top 5 skills in 2023, and these are also called transferable skills. Reason being, you take any job description or any job role that you're applying for, you will see that these skills are there in the skill section, which means every hiring manager, be it a Fortune 500 company, a startup, or a bootstrapped company, any company for that matter, is seeking for employees who have these transferable skills, which is why soft skill is very very important for your career. Now you might ask, okay Vrinda, we know why soft skill is important, we know what are the important skills, how do we learn them? This is the next thing that I'm going to address, which is you attend webinars, attend workshops, okay, network with people. Now suppose, let's say that you know that your pain point is public speaking. If you are on LinkedIn, you know how extensive a platform it is. It has close to 930 million subscribers. Can you imagine the growth, the potential, the number of people in that network? You need to reach out to trainers, coaches, follow their content. You don't even have to get their paid service. That's the trick. You can follow their content, you can learn some tips and strategies from them, and you can start implementing. If I have to strongly give you a suggestion, it would be join some public speaking courses or workshops, webinars. Understand how exactly you can deliver better, what is trending. Like today, storytelling is extremely, extremely important, not just to build your personal brand, but even when you are presenting. Every is a story. You are a story. I'm a story. Divya is a story. Everyone has a story to share. So that is one of the game changing concepts today. Utilize that. Learn how can you effectively story tell. Whether it's your presentation, whether it's an interview answer, whatever it is, we're all telling stories. So that's something that I wanted to tell you, that you can take up a course on LinkedIn. There are a lot of free resources available on LinkedIn. Take up their courses or join some paid workshops, courses, seminars. Upskill yourself. The more you upskill, you have more to add on your resume, and that's how you can stand apart from a lot of other candidates who are applying for the similar job role. So with this, I'm sure you have understood what is the importance of soft skill. Why is it important for your career success? Now, I would request Divya to take the stage, and she's going to be talking about the recession times, struggles of an immigrant, because she has very closely felt all of it. She's experienced all of it, and how can you really navigate through these times? Also, she's a resume expert. She also writes cover letters, so she can give you some tips on how you can build your resume and cover letter as well. Over to you, Divya.
Kia ora, everybody from New Zealand. Hi, I'm Divya. Vrinda's given quite an amazing introduction. So I am a resume expert and an interview coach here in New Zealand, and I've helped over 365 people across 18 countries gaining career clarity, understanding what it takes to land jobs, and also, as Vrinda said, increasing their interview confidence and their soft skills. And I quite rightly agree with Vrinda that soft skills are something that you can't teach. There's no course in it. It comes with time, with practice, with putting yourself out of your comfort zone, going to those networking events. So I'm going to be actually talking about, before we even go to soft skills, I'm going to be talking about how to craft a job ready resume, because that is exactly what my expertise is. And also be talking about what is happening right now, what is the market situation, and how does it directly or indirectly affect you. So we know that recession's here. It hit us at the start of the year, and many countries are facing it worse than others. So, for example, US, UK, people are really struggling. My own sister actually lives in the UK. She's a doctor, and I understand how expensive the price of bread and price of food is, and how hard it is to actually find jobs, because what's happening is essentially what happens in a recession is there are more people looking for jobs and there are less job postings because companies' budgets get substantially decreased. Companies are more particular in terms of the roles they want to advertise and the roles they want to put their revenue towards. And the most I guess, in my opinion, the most, I guess, affected parties in a recession is graduates and interns, so young people who are just straight coming out of the university, or even immigrants. So immigrants are also the most affected, is because again they're on a work visa, time is ticking, it's getting stressful, and you're not able to land a job, and again the pressure comes in. And what happens is, because of recession, things get tough and it takes longer for us to land roles and land jobs. It affects our mental health. And what it happens is, it sort of helps us get imposter syndrome, that we're not good enough. And that again translates into our soft skills, that just because we think we're not good enough, we feel we're not confident. And that's why every time we go in an interview, we may not prepare, we may procrastinate, or we may feel that we didn't really touch all the points that we wanted to touch in and not land that interview. So everything is sort of like interconnected at the end of the day. But the first point of contact, the first thing you can do in a recession to land a job, is to understand, hey, how can I strategize, especially during these tough times? Because sending your CV out or a resume out to hundred of applications, without even customizing it will not help you. What will help you is strategy. What will help you is reading the job description carefully, reading the requirements section. What exactly does the recruiter want is what we want to know. And we want to make sure that we solve that puzzle in our resume and our cover letter, to come out of all the 100 applicants sending generic, weak resumes. So what can you do for your resume? Number one is reading the job description. Make sure that you have, your PDF or marking tool on a PDF, and, take a snip of that job description and just keep marking those soft skills. Like, as Vrinda mentioned, they may need technical skills, any requirements of the role, any job responsibilities in the role that you may or may not have already done. And make sure that you mention those requirements that the recruiters are looking for in your CV by metrics. So, for example, you may be working in the university as a student officer, and you may have helped create social media posts and marketing posts. So, write about how much engagement did you increase through social media. Something as simple as that. Make sure you mention examples, and make sure you mention those achievements and those metrics, because achievements and metrics is going to help that recruiter visualize your skill set. Because when we put a number to something, we're able to understand it better, and we're able to visualize it better. And it also helps pass through the applicant tracking system, which is the hiring software. So 90% of the companies out there actually don't have hundreds of HRs in their company, right? They actually take something called a hiring software, which is essentially AI that filters you through the hundreds of applicants who apply. So nowadays, with recession, there's a layer of recessions, but then there's a layer of AI that is going to be standing in between you and your dream job. So you want to make sure you're making the CV for the recruiter as well as passing through that AI, because the first step is cracking that AI barrier and landing in that shortlisted list for the recruiter. And then once you are in that shortlisted list, you're going to make it to the interview, which is where Vrinda comes in, the soft skills, the communication, the collaboration, the leadership that you have to show. So, Vrinda, what do you think? How important is interview prep? I mean, you've worked with many clients, right?
Yeah. So I've also closely worked with Divya, and I've got to learn a lot about interview strategies and how you can essentially deliver well. So I think, yeah, firstly, like you said, that there are a lot of blocks. First is the recession, and then it's the ATS, and then comes the interview part. So now I've learned one thing from Divya. She always tells, and I agree with her, is the first most important thing is you start applying for jobs. Once you hear from the recruiters, you need to understand what job roles are they approaching you for. Like if you have applied for 2 to 3 different job roles, try to analyze from which particular job role have you received the maximum number of calls. So this is what this is trying to say, that this is the job for you, this is where the recruiters are seeing your potential. Only after you hear, then you need to start preparing for your interview. One common mistake that mainly I think Indians do is they start preparing for their interview already, which is not the right way, because unless you hear from the recruiters and you know what job role have you been shortlisted for, there is no point preparing for an interview. So I think that's the first step. The second step, I think interviews are very important because the resume does a job to get you till the interview. That's it. The role of the resume ends there. Now exactly whatever you have written in your resume, whether it's a coach who's written it for you or you have written it for yourself, now that has to outstand through your delivery. So the recruiters must be able to synchronize that yes, what you have written in the resume is actually you, and it's not somebody who has over exaggerated about you. So that's where your prep really holds strong. And I think the main two elements of interviews, one is your non-verbal communication and one is your verbal communication. Both are equally important because each are going to complement one another. And going to the communication part, yes, it's very important because you need to make sure that you are not speaking like a robot. You are not acting like you are rehearsing the answer and you have memorized and you're just blurting out. It has to be very very natural, so which it requires a lot of practice. And here is when some of the most important elements come into play of public speaking, which is how are you using your pauses, how are you using your voice, how are you playing with your voice, and how are you showcasing your achievements. Very important. One common mistake that people do in interview is they describe the job role, which is not necessary because already oh, I'm so sorry, already the recruiters know what was your job responsibility when you were working for that role, or if you have been shortlisted for a particular role, they know what are the responsibilities, but they want to see how skilled you are, what have you achieved, what can you bring to the table, and how passionate you are. So your passion should shine through, through that interview. That's what I feel. What about you, Divya? What do you think?
I think yes. However, interview prep, in my opinion, as I see a lot of people making these mistakes, is they don't start their interview prep early enough. Yes, not don't start your interview prep, or no, I mean, if you want to start your interview prep even before you get a job, amazing. Like you're working on your social skills. Maybe you are introvert or you have social anxiety and you want to take step by step. That's completely okay. However, interview prep is usually overlooked, and I feel the reason for that is fatigue, job search fatigue. What happens is when a person, especially in recession, when you're applying for jobs, hundreds of jobs, right, you might take minimum 4 months to hear back from interviews, because on average, when you apply in a good market, it takes you 1.5 to 2 months to hear back from job applications. In recession, you might extend it to 4 months. So 4 months of continuous rejections leads to imposter syndrome, leads to feeling you negative about your own accomplishments, and also reduces that the mindset sort of shifts towards that, oh, I'm not good enough. And what happens is that sort of show what happens is, even by the time you reach the interview, the mindset is so set in that you feel fatigue, and that's why you sometimes don't feel like you've done good. You feel, you walk out of an interview and you're like, oh my god, oh my god, I could have done better. Oh, I didn't touch this point. Oh, I was not bubbly enough, or I was not confident enough, and I was very negative, or I was very fatigued, or I was not social enough. And that all comes because, yes, A, the fatigue, B, the mindset, and C is that we're not preparing well enough. We're not preparing the right way. As Vrinda said, you can write a script for your interview, and that is amazing. Script is the best way to go forward. But at the same time, is not learning that script, but understanding what points you want to touch and making it sound as natural as possible and less robotic, because interviews are just like a conversation. Like me and Vrinda are right now having a conversation in front of you guys. That's exactly what an interview is. The recruiter wants to hire you because they have spent substantial money, time, and resources to get you there. They are not your enemies. You guys are actually playing the same game. And once you shift that mindset and understand that recruiter really wants me to hire, really wants to hire me, and I just need to do my best and sort of showcase through my communication skills that I am that missing piece of puzzle that they're looking for, boom, done. You've won the game. And that's my opinion. What do you think, Vrinda?
I absolutely agree with you. It has to be very natural. And another important aspect which is ignored, I think, is people write scripts, but they don't practice it. They think that they'll be able to do it. You know, sometimes a little bit of overconfidence kicks in, and we also try to sometimes underestimate the power of the hiring manager. I've seen a lot of my own clients, they would be like, yeah, I mean, our resume is shortlisted. I don't think we need anything else. Interview, it's just going to be a conversation. I know what I'm going to talk. And once you go there, you fumble. You don't know what you have to say. You don't have a strategy. You don't showcase your achievements. You are just talking about your job responsibility, which does not do you any good. And then they start reflecting, okay, where did we go wrong? So that self awareness is not there. Like you said, mindset is very important. Some people have a mindset that, okay, we're going to fail. They are threatened by success, and some people feel that we can do it very easily. Now both are extremes and both need to be avoided. Practice is the key. No matter whether it is your presentation today, even when I have to give a presentation to someone, I make sure I practice at least 2 or 3 times till I know that I'm, you know, very naturally, very organically, I'm able to speak and interact, which is what an interview is. And like you rightly pointed, interview is a conversation. People have hyped it up so much that now people feel intimidated by interviews. They are scared, but they forget that it's just a conversation that you're having with the hiring manager. And if he needs you, even you need him. So you know, both these points need to be integrated in your system, and you have to work and prepare for your interview accordingly. That's what I think. Now I know that there are different kinds of questions, Divya, in interview. Like, apart from the normal questions, there are certain behavioral, situational based questions. There are a lot of different kind of questions. How do you think one can deal with different kind of questions in an interview?
Yeah, I mean, um, so even before we go into that, there are actually four kinds of questions you're ever going to be asked. One is basic interview questions. So, who are you? Tell us about your work experience. Tell us about education. Tell us about your strength and your weaknesses. So, just all those basic questions that 99% of the job description, they're going to ask you in 99% of the job interviews. The second is behavioral interview questions. Now, those are very complex because there's no right and there's no wrong answer. And those are the kind of questions that starts with, tell me about a time you failed to deliver, or tell me about a time you let your team down, or tell me about a time you didn't agree with your manager. Now, this is where you have to, again, as Vrinda mentioned before, storyline. That's your storyline. You've got to explain what happened, what was the problem, how did you resolve it, and what was the result at the end of it in a storyline. You've got to get that storyline right, not jumping too fast, but taking it nice and slow and not too much into detail, but giving just sufficient details on what happened, what were the actions you took, and what was the result of it. The other is situation based questions. Now, those are more future related questions. So, those are more, if you were successful in this role as a operations manager, what are the three things you would change in our business? Now, those are more in analytical questions where they are asking you to put yourself in that job and find them like some solution. It doesn't have to be very intense or elaborate. It could be a human resource solution, and sort of walk them through your strategy and what you would do. And that also ties into the fact about the company questions, where the fourth kind, the company related questions, where they will ask you, why do you want to work in a company? What attracted you to the job description? And that the fourth kind of questions are the most important because they actually are your way to network and connect with a recruiter. So if you don't do any research and you give them a generic sentence that I want to work with a company because you guys are great and you guys are the biggest tech firm in the world, you're going to get an automatic job rejection, right? Right there, because everybody's going to be saying that. And it's really important to research about the company. It's really important to understand how you connect to their mission. Maybe, they're empowering young girls across the world in STEM field. Maybe, you attended a job fair and you loved how they connected with you. Maybe, somebody from the company came and gave a workshop in a university and you attended. So talk about a connection to the recruiter. And that ties into what Vrinda was saying, is a conversation. And when you research enough about the company, you can convert the whole interview into a conversation because you come from that curiosity angle as opposed to coming from a robotic angle. I hope that makes sense, and I hope I'm saying it right, Vrinda. The question.
Absolutely, on point, on point. So yeah, this is what I was trying to tell everyone. Like as an interview coach, she's able to tell you different kinds of questions that you are facing. Now, people just think that interview, okay, they're just going to ask, who are you, what are you, why should we hire you, why should you work with us? No, it's not that easy. They are going to test your problem solving skills, leadership, how through these behavioral and situational questions. So the main difference that I could, to summarize from what Divya said is, behavioral questions generally reflect on your past experience, how you handled a certain situation, what were the skills you showcased, how did you resolve a problem, or how did you minimize an escalation. But whereas situational is going to test your problem solving and your analytical skills, that if you are put in the situation, how well can you handle that situation. Now, it's not necessary that you need to be so honest that, oh my god, I don't think, I'm not sure. No, you can just give your best possible strategic answer, that I will use these skills and I will make sure that this is how I'm going to resolve or minimize a certain problem. So these are different kind of questions that are going to be fired at you during an interview. Very important. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the non-verbal communication part, which includes your body language. So now, when you are speaking, how are you speaking, how are you sitting, are you twiddling your thumbs, are you wringing your hands, are you tapping your feet, are you crossing your arms? All these are very defensive body languages which needs to be avoided at any cost. No matter what happens, you need to avoid such a language. You need to make sure that you have a steady posture, and then when you speak, you maintain eye contact, and then you are smiling, because many people get so nervous that while they're delivering, you can see so much of anxiety on their face, which shows that you are very, very underconfident. So you need to know how you can manage those emotions. How can you do that? Take up a mock interview. There are so many coaches who are providing mock interview sessions. They are AI generated websites that can help you with mock interview sessions, that can actually analyze your face expressions, your pauses, your eye contact, your smile, and they can give you a feedback. So you can, of course, utilize these platforms. See how well are you delivering in a mock interview environment. Very, very important that you at least practice before you go there. So even if you are, let's say you are doing 90% great in your mock interview, you can at least do a 60-70% great in your interview, which is also good enough. So I think that these points are very important. And apart from that, finally, like how Divya said, we ignore researching about the company, which is very important. I don't see people researching much about the company. Very important. Like how Divya said, you need to align with the company's mission. See what are their mission, vision, their goals. What projects are they doing, what challenges have they faced, what are the recent achievements or notable achievements of that company. Because when the recruiter is going to ask you, what do you know about us, or why do you want to work with us, if you show them that, hey, you know what, I've researched about your company and this is what I love the most, they are going to get super impressed that you have taken that effort to research. Which means, if we are taking an effort to bring in you here, even you are taking that effort to research about us, our products, our services, our mission, etc. That's one. And lastly, reading the job description. Most of us ignore reading the job description. We just see the job role and we hit on the apply button. No, that's not how it works. Read what are the soft skills, what are the technical skills, how many number of years of experience do they require, what is going to be the job really like. Everything is going to be in there. Read it twice, thrice, to understand, can you relate to this job description? Is this something that excites you? Is this something that you're passionate about? Is this something that you want to do? Ask all those why to yourself. And if for those four questions, each question you have a yes, then that job is for you. That's what I genuinely feel. What about you, Divya? What would you like to say?
Yeah, I
What would
mean,
you like to add?
one thing like to add is, because if somebody's actually asking a question, is how do you say why you want to join this company? And so the number one thing is read their LinkedIn, and not about them, but go on their posts and read the last 6 months of posts and see how you connect with them. Let's say, for example, you might be a woman in STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, and they might actually have been doing workshops and funding, women in STEM and encouraging them to take more careers in STEM. That's your hook. right? That's your hook. So, for example, you may be somebody who is working with the Red Cross and like going to the beach every weekend and collecting rubbish or trash off the beach, right? You're cleaning the beach and helping the community, and you're a very sustainable person. So, look at their sustainability goals. What are their sustainability goals? How have they reduced carbon emissions? What kind of projects they're funding right now across the world? And then that's your hook. So third thing is, for example, is let's say you may be brought up on a farm, right? Nice and cozy farm somewhere in New Zealand around cows and sheep and pigs, and you might be applying for a dairy company, and that's your hook because you've literally been on a farm, you've been around dairy, and that's why you've been interested to work as a maybe a business development manager for a dairy company, because that's your connection. So think about your connection to the company, and think about what is about their posts that you might see on Google or LinkedIn or Facebook, something that connects you, be like, oh my God, wow, this is an interesting post. I like this. And when you find a post like that, that's your connection. Read the post and see what it is the most interesting thing in this post and why do I connect, and mention that in your cover letter. Yeah, that's my
Very
advice.
important. We've got another question.
Oh,
Is skill and knowledge more important, or only body language is required? So everything is equally important. I'll just see once again your name. I'm sorry. Ranveer Kumar. Yes, brilliant question. So, yes, all the three are important. Okay. See, knowledge, according to me, if you're talking about technical knowledge, it's okay if you don't have too much technical knowledge. The company can train you on it, for 6 months that you are on your probation. Very, what is most important is how are you representing yourself, how are you showcasing your skills, your leadership quality, your achievements, and especially how confidently are you able to communicate. Let's say that you have all the skills, you have the knowledge, and you have a set of achievements, but if you are not able to confidently make eye contact, smile, and proudly talk about your achievements, the recruiter might doubt that is it true what you're saying, are you exaggerating, or why are you not confident talking about your own achievement. So if you cannot be confident with your skills, how do you want us to be confident for you? Right, it's a two-way contribution. So everything is important. Non-verbal communication is extremely important because that complements what you are speaking. So both are necessary, both are equally important, I would say. I hope I have answered your question. Divya, I think we have another question. Okay, that was your reply. Okay, okay. Great. You're on mute, Divya. You're on mute.
sorry,
No
sorry,
problem.
sorry. I would actually like to add one more thing is how you can
Yeah,
improve your soft skills, how you can improve your communication skills. Um, Verbs, the verbs we use, the
yeah,
sentence delivery, most important. So, for example, let's say you might be working in customer service, right, in a startup company, and you might be looking for the next challenge in your career. So instead of saying, I just answered calls, no, that's a very passive way of saying. You need to be your biggest cheerleader, and you need to be your biggest motivator, and actually present your work experience like an elevator pitch. So, for example, if you're in customer service, I would say, my main responsibility as a customer service executive was to answer calls, resolve conflicts, and resolve escalations in a timely manner. On an average, I took 100 calls a day and managed to deliver that feedback to my manager on daily escalations and trends. So, see how I changed the whole narrative of the customer service exec role? So, it's really important on how you structure your sentence and how the kind of, I guess, adjectives you use. So, for example, if you're explaining your work, make sure you use the word optimized, resolved, delivered, strategized, I've mentioned resolved, sorry. Um,
led,
yeah,
spearheaded.
exactly. Led, spearheaded. So all these words you use to explain your work experience, and also put those metrics in, and tell them about examples of what you've done instead of just passively saying, I just only answer calls. So you need to be your own cheerleader. You need to be your own motivator during an interview, and increase your vocabulary by, as Vinda said, attending webinars, listening to TED Talks. That's how I increased my vocabulary, guys. I wasn't born like that. How I increased it, watching TED Talks, reading a lot of books, and going to live seminars and networking events around New Zealand, around India, and actually just watching people's body language, how they present, how they answer questions, and sort of understanding that, oh, this is interesting, this is how you can be calm and confident while having great vocabulary. So it's really, really important you go out there and you upskill yourself, not just in your technical skills but actually in your soft skills.
Absolutely, Divya. I absolutely agree with you. The kind of words that you use are very important. So, to mention what Divya spoke, those are called action verbs, right, Divya?
Yes, yes, action verbs and
Yeah.
adjectives.
Exactly. So the more you use them, you are showcasing your skills. Okay. It's very important to upgrade your vocabulary. So, like Divya said, even a customer care executive role, it's not as no role is small or big. Okay. That's first thing that you need to understand and respect every job role that you have done. Don't feel let's say don't feel bogged down by a small you might feel that okay, I've just done this role, it's a very small role. No, every role is equally respected and you should respect it in order for the recruiter also to respect it. So when you use these action verbs and when you update your vocabulary and when you talk, like instead of saying that I was just on calls, like how Divya said, rather if you said I optimized these many number of escalations, or if you use some measurable metrics, if you talk about how you led a team, how you delivered an impactful result, that is going to get you, let's say, to the next interview round, or maybe help you get your dream job. So that's very important. Divya, we have another question.
Yeah.
So when in interview we feel nervous, how do you deal with those feelings? So I would first love to hear from you
Oh my
before I
goodness.
say.
I feel nervous all the time. I'm nervous presenting here. Believe me, it's not, you're not alone. So I believe that nervousness in an interview, I'll answer this question in two stages. Number one is the pre interview stage. So, for example, you've got an interview tomorrow. So the night before, you need to make sure you have the least amount of distractions, you have the least amount of chaos around you, which means, you know, having an early night, getting your dress ready for the interview a day before, pressed, cleaned on the couch, make sure no social media or no LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn can be really traumatizing for a lot of people. So I usually, when I go on interviews, I do not watch LinkedIn for 2 days. I don't open that app. And also social media, just make sure you have the least amount of triggers around you. Maybe read a book, make a green tea, anything that helps you feel calm and peaceful. Make sure you have 8 hours of sleep, because it's really important that you give your nervous system that break and that sleep. Sleep is really important. So get your beauty sleep in. The other thing is, before the interview, don't go up late. Wake up, put an alarm, ask your friends and family to wake you up, have a good breakfast, go to the interview half an hour early. Even if you have to sit in a cafe or just wait outside, it's okay. You just want to make sure there are least amount of triggers around you that may lead you to become anxious and nervous, because everybody feels nervous and anxious. It's the most primitive feeling every human being have. The other thing is, when if you're feeling nervous in an interview, completely normal feeling. Number one thing is, if you can carry a water bottle with you, or ask them for water at the start of the interview, so you have water with you, because water usually calms us down. The other is grounding yourself. So keep both of your feet on the floor, and just whenever in an interview you feel confused or nervous or anxious, or you feel like the walls are closing, we all feel that. Take a just deep breath and just 5 seconds, 5 4 3 2 1 in your brain, and then answer the question. If you feel that you don't know the question properly, or you might have, you might be nervous and you may not have heard the question properly, that's okay. Ask them again. Could you please repeat the question? You could even paraphrase the question for them. Could I please clarify, if you're asking me how did I deal with conflict at work? Just ask them the question, just paraphrase it. You can even ask them to repeat it. The recruiter's not going to get angry at you. If you don't know the answer at all, you've been scattering your brain, you've asked them for 2 minutes, hi, can I have 2 minutes to think? It's okay. You can even ask 2 minutes to think. I've done that. My first graduate interview, I actually didn't know an answer. And I actually had a notepad with me with my notes. And I asked them before an interview, can I please put my notes right in front of me? Because that makes me feel a lot less anxious. And the recruiter was like, of course you can. Ask them, if you're a notes kind of person, do that. Put the notes up. You don't have to read from it, but it is just good to have them there. The other is, if you don't know the answer, it's okay. You're not supposed to know everything. You could always tell them that, hi, at this moment I do not have sufficient knowledge to answer this question, but I would be happy to give you an answer in the next interview we have. Always okay to say that. It's completely okay to say that if it's an answer that is extremely difficult to answer. So that's what I would say to handle nervousness, especially in interviews. That's what I do. What do you do, Rinda? How do you deal with interviews?
She has answered everything bang on. I don't think I have anything else to say. She's addressed everything right from pre-interview anxiety up till during your interview. And one thing that I want to repeat what she said was, it's normal. Okay, it's completely normal. Don't think that you are some alien who's only feeling nervous and everyone else around you is super confident. No, everyone are equally nervous and anxious during their interview. Like she said, even when I had to start the presentation or when she had to jump in and speak, we both were nervous. Okay, the only thing is we try to manage our emotions on our face now. Okay, so apart from everything else that she told you, all the tips, I would say ditto, I would add the same. But just one more thing that I want to add is how you manage your emotions. You need to be really smart, and that's something that you need to practice. Now when you see me and Divya, I don't think any of you can say, oh, are you both nervous? No, you both are joking probably, but we are. Trust me, we both are, but we are just covering it, with our face. We are managing our emotions. How? We're trying to smile, we're trying to make eye contact. Okay, and I personally use a lot of hand gestures. I have the habit, and I see Divya also using a lot of hand gestures. This, I'm telling you, this might sound very cliche, but this really helps you to get your confidence back. Once you make an eye contact, you smile, you try to say your answers. You don't have to, speak your answers in a very, let's say in an express manner. You don't have to do that. You can extremely go in a very natural way, in a very natural conversation. You can explain. And one tip and one trick that I always tell my students are, whenever you feel you don't remember something, it's okay to pause. So now if you feel that you're at a loss of words or you don't know what to really say next, take a pause, just smile, look at the recruiter, and then you will get, you can quickly get a couple of seconds to gather those thoughts, and then you can again resume. So pauses are the great way. Whenever you are at loss of words or you're confused or you don't know what to answer, you can always apply the concept of pauses. The next thing is, yes, it's always okay to ask the recruiter, can you please repeat, I didn't quite understand, or I want to clarify, is this is what you were asking. Like Divya said, very important. All of us think recruiters are some superhumans who are always either arrogant, or who are just ready to fire you, who are ready to say that you're rejected. No, they are also human beings. They also understand that it's okay sometimes you cannot comprehend the question as well as they were trying to tell you. So it's okay to always ask, clarify instead of answering wrong. That would actually leave a bad impression. But asking them to repeat their question again will show how proactive you are, and how curious you are, and how particular you are about answering the question clearly. So that shows your attention to detail, which is very, very important. So I think this is all that I have to say to summarize everything. Divya, do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, I would just give one last tip is the post interview stage. Now, I didn't mention that. So, as soon as you get out of the interview, just make sure on your phone or a notepad, write all the questions they asked you, because your memory is fresh when you get out of the interview. And at by the time you reach home, you're going to forget all the questions they ask you. So, write those questions, because even if, let's say, you don't land that job interview, 90%, the fact is that 90% of the questions they ask are going to be repeated in the next one. And then you
Yeah.
can practice them and actually perfect them over time, because interview preparation takes practice. So it's really, really important that post interview stage, you write those questions, and then once you've had a shower or lunch, or done with your day, at night in your diary, write your answers of what you've answered and reflect on it. Okay, where did I go wrong? Did I say a lot? Did I use negative words? For example, the most common negative word in your vocabulary is basically. Basically is used by 90% of people out there, and it is one of my pet peeve as well, is because when you say basically or obviously, these two words, you're assuming that they know what you're talking about. That's very presumptuous and that's very arrogant. So if you can actually reduce these two words from your vocabulary completely, that will be great. So yes, pre, during, and post interview stages, really, really important. Again, as Wanda said, it takes practice. No one perfects it over time. So
Yeah.
if not today, it's going to get better tomorrow. Just keep going and keep practicing.
Absolutely, I agree with her. And one more thing that I want to add is yes, reflecting on the questions that were asked, and you can note down. And yes, there are some other words as well, such as, okay, that's it from my end. Okay, I've already told you this before. Okay, as mentioned in my resume. No, you cannot assume. It's okay. I mean, of course, the hiring manager has seen your resume and he or she knows about what you're going to speak, but you can't make it too obvious to them. So avoid those words as well. And just one last point that I would tell you to add is very important. After you're done with your interview, the same day, send a thank you mail to the recruiter. Trust me, I have seen this, that even according to statistics, they say that most of the candidates who are hired for the next round or even hired for that particular job role is their passion and their curiousness, their interest that they actually show after the interview. So they immediately send a thank you mail, thank you for your time. They keep following up. So that actually shows the recruiter that you are interested and you're genuinely putting in that extra effort rather than those other 100 candidates. So I think this would be something that I would want to add. But yes, I really hope that you all gained a lot of insights from Divya and me. I really hope that you all found the session insightful. Yes, Sonali, over to you.
So much, Divya and Vrinda. I mean,
I
seriously,
think she'll join back. Yeah, she's here.
I mean, you both covered everything, pretty much everything, as much as you can cover in 1 hour. I mean, summarize it all, see the post and the in between thing. I'm glad, and as I think Divya was mentioning, there's always that one word that we use, right? For me, it's literally, I use literally a lot. So just I realized that it's one word for me.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yes, yes. However, I just wanted to thank you both for taking out time on a Saturday, especially on a Saturday, and taking this session. A lot of people who were able to join were could benefit from it. But this session will also go out on YouTube, and the audience will definitely get benefit from it. I know that my host, he was just near me. He's been asking questions, so he was very invested in the session, and a lot of our team members did join in because some of them are volunteers, and they are students, so this is really beneficial for them. We covered pretty much everything. We covered the resumes. We covered, how ATS has taken over the job industry and how important it is to, take it under consideration. We talked about confidence. We talked about, the post job scenarios, that how, in between we do get nervous, but after job, there's another level of anxiety that comes into the picture for the youth, right? And then so it's important to not only, understand it, but also acknowledge it, to make sure that we are able to give them some confidence. We are able to help them out there. So for all the attendees who were able to attend, and for all the people who are going to get benefit from this session, you can always follow Vrinda and Divya. They are out there. They post a lot of videos. I do follow their content, and it's amazing. So I would just like to say that please do follow them, and you can reach out to them as well through their social medias, and they're available to answer your questions. Again, Vrinda and Divya, I can't thank you enough. This has been a very insightful session. Thank you so much for taking out time on a Saturday.
Thank you, Sonali. It was a pleasure.